All right, we're just going to have to get straight to it. It was towards the end of the draft or whatever, and Shams come out and talk about, hey, the Hornets are engaging in trade talks with Lamelo Ball. And pretty much after this, I was like, it seemed like it's down to really three teams that seem to be inquiring about him. And I was like, so I'll talk about those teams in a minute, and possibly maybe some other ones that could also possibly join in with that. But let's talk about it from the Hornet perspective, because I was over here, being like, okay, we just has a couple draft picks. I'll look at some tape and or like highlights or whatever. I'm not gonna crunch the tape like that, but you get to what I'm saying to see how that's like, oh, how they fit with the team. Because I actually think that a couple, I was like, to me, I was like, cool. They seem like cool fits, and then but you got to see how it is with the rest of the team. Cool, whatever. But now I think this is something to me that I don't know where does why this is pretty much here. And I was like, look, if it was teams really, I'm asking about Lamelo. I was like, cool. That just sounds like regular doing your due diligence at the gym, whatever, like that. Is he available? What did it take, and all this other stuff. That I think that's fine. But when it seems like the Hornets are engaging in this, now it seems like, oh, so are y'all filling out the calls to see what's going on here? Because I was like, that's a different scenario. And look, I was like, I think there's been a lot of cons with this, but I was like, lead from the Hornets perspective, I feel like it's trying to sell high on a player. Basically, I was like, he had his first year staying healthy. They first year having a winning record. It was the first time of like, I know how everybody's always got the narrative on him, but like he's not a winning player. He doesn't like to win. Look at the way he does all this stuff or whatever. So guess what they did this year? They won this year. Now, I was like, so with that being said, you are selling high on a player that has a max contract. He still got some years available as well too. And then I was like, and in this NBA, his contract is really not crazy or bad. He just signed one of those max contracts, like that first contract you really get. So it's nothing crazy or whatever. So I can understand it. It's a new ownership at the Hornets, so I can understand it from that perspective on that end. And that's really where I think that it sort of ends. And the crazy thing is that when they were I was like, I've done two videos. I did one video last summer talking about if like Lamelo, if you don't get your stuff together, you're going to be out of here or whatever. I was like, along with, like I said, Trae Young and Ja. And guess what? Trae Young has been moved. Ja is potentially being moved as well too. Then after the season sort of got going, I was saying that I was like, hey, I was like, they were starting to get a little bit turned around, but they were still sort of like bottom of I was like playing badly. And I was like, hey, I was like, don't let it fool you that they will try to get rid of you, Melo, and they're going and try to make Khan the face of the team. And that sort of seems like, especially if this goes down, what is actually going to try to be done here. I was like, you also have Brandon Miller there, and there was already stuff going on about, like how there was like the two team is it Tatum, Brown, Tatum. It was sort of like this too, where it was like it's been LaMelo's year. Then like when Brandon Miller after his first year and stuff like that, it was like whose team is it? And then he sort of had like a down second year. His third year he bounced back. But it was like it was going that way for a while too. I was like, Brandon Miller's the one that got upside as an all-star potential. Now everybody's saying Khan is like a future star, and I was like, at this moment, I don't really think that. But I was like, but you have a team. You finally have a team. It seemed like you got a lot of the right people, a lot of the right pieces that fit together. You have a good mix of like young players. I was like, they got their first taste of things. You add a couple other people to do it. I said I think they still need a veteran guy that could, outside of Grant Williams, that could be there. I was like, and I don't know. I was like, I had like the Kobe White stuff has been sort of percolating in a way that seems like, wait, are we going to get him back or not? It's like, or is this very quiet on the end? Because I was like, hey, people are resigning back. So to me, I was like, this is sort of seem like it's filling out with Kobe. That it's like, is some other stuff going on, and that's why like he's not necessarily signed back. And I was like, that and like the video, and I did another video also as well talking about why the Hornets turned it around, and Lamelo is a big reason of that. And I was like, and I've already seen, and I was like, look, you're gonna have the narrative. He got the PR, he got the bad PR, he got the bad narrative about him when it comes to like playing and stuff like that. The off the field stuff, I was like, pretty much outside of his reckless driving, he's really just been goofy and silly. But he's also been in the limelight since he was like a teenager, so he's really been like a child star celebrity guy for so long that we've seen like getting older, that I was like, I don't feel like people treat it like that they would have for other people. But with that being said, I was like his style of play and stuff like that has had that street ball. You do this I would like for yourself kind of play. But I have talked about that this is sort of the first year that he had a team, because I was like, you could not name his second best player for his tenure. Go ahead and do it. Outside of rookie, I was like, he had that 1 year with Bridges, and Bridges messed the rest of that up. Miller, I was like, had his rookie year, and then he was hurt most of the second year as well with Lamelo, who's also been hurt. Along with that, this is the first time that he's had competent players where he don't have to just take jump shots and be the solo dolo ball shooter guy. Don't get me wrong, he does do that, but outside of Miller, there's also nobody that's going to take the shot either. LaMelo is the only guy that can get his own shot and take his own shot. I was like, Bridges can get his own shot, but nobody sees him like that. Like, yes, he can get his own shot and he can score, but you don't want him to really do that. Khan, I think, as much as his shooting was great and all this other stuff, and he was crazy. We also seen in the playoff that when he don't have a 3-point shot going, what else can he do? He's not a defensive guy. I was like, he doesn't have any other type of, I was like, part of his game right now or whatever. I was like, yeah, he could I was like, every now and then I was like, he sort of showed like he tried to do shooting from the mid range, but it wasn't there. So guess what? I was like, so what? I was like, cause I was like, Bridges has also been somebody they have talked about as well too, getting traded for a bonus or whatever like that. I'm just saying, I'm like, what is this team going to be without Lamelo Ball? Because I think that outside of like shot creation, and I was like, and I just talked about how, and like his past and stuff like that of his teammates or whatever. And I did a whole nother video of that of like why Bill Simmons is wrong with Lamelo, but I was like, also his pace of the game. I was like, I was like, he can lead a fast break. I was like, he a guy that can really do assists. And I was like, kind of like everybody has assist numbers, especially nowadays. But that does not mean that you are being a point guard or you are being a guy that is actually creating shots for other people. You get what I'm saying? I was like, the way they count assists now, I was like, you could do assists and you can have multiple dribbles. We seen that with like some of the stuff that Jokic was getting and stuff like that. So, and I was like, people nowadays just have like 5-6 assists, but they're not people who also set up any players or whatever like that in the way that LaMelo can. Like LaMelo is getting nipple these good shots. I was like, he is over here like helping Miles Bridges being able to like have threes every now and then that you're like, oh, like Grant Williams is not a dude that can get his own shot. Like, like a lot of the players outside of Miller can't get their own shot. What you need, a point guard. What you need with all these young dudes, fast break people. I was like fast breaks. What helps with the 3-point shooting? Fast breaks, moving. I was like fast pace and all this other stuff. LaMelo helps with all that. So that's why I'm like, if you get rid of him, what point guard are you going to get? And also, not just that, I was like, but also, like I said about being like getting assists. Most point guards now are a literal point guard. They score first and maybe distribute here and there, and a lot of them are point guard because they're just short, more so than being an actual point guard. It's sort of how I also feel like I know how people are going to hear it about Trae Young, where I'm like, Trae Young assist numbers aren't also just like it's like, oh, he get assists. I was like, no, I was like, he creates for other people as well. I was like, there's some other stuff almost like Melo that's dragged with it where he has the PR that makes it his stuff look bad as well. But I'm like SGA is not a point. I was like he the points guard, but but his assists ain't the same thing. I was like the same thing with I was like Luka actually is. I was like it's like a dude that could play point guard, and I was like actually his assist means something. I was like Lillard. I was like no, he's a point guard. Westbrook. I was like he's a point guard, but he does assist. You get what I'm saying? They're not all created the same. So that's all I want to say with the Lamelo thing. I was like, I think it's wild. I think it's crazy, and also from the standpoint of, and I was like, I know how people hated this being the argument for so many years about Lamelo, like the young people love him, like he sell out ticket for Charlotte, blah blah, and it's like, or do you want to win? And it's like, bro, you kind of have to do both. I was like, if you're not going to put out a product that can win, which the Hornets can't, I was like, you need somebody there that also draw butts in the seat that people want to see play. And guess what? You take out LaMelo, there is nobody there that nobody really wants to see. Brandon Miller is not that type of person. Like LaMelo is a weird case of superstar because a lot of times superstar is a mix of person that has like the face with the charisma with the game with also the winning and all this other stuff, in a way like Curry is or Ant can or even Wimby or whatever. It's the reason why it's like we don't necessarily feel that with Shea in that same type of way. Or anybody else. Like even like I was like Brunson. Like Brunson I was like had made it work. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just some people that is just sort of work with him. LaMelo just has it. He just never had the winning part of it and how people have sort of felt about his game. But all right, cool. I was like build around Miller and Khan, and if you field a good team, yes, it would be great. But guess what? You'll also be. You'll probably just be like the Hawks were, in like I want to say the teens, 2010 and all that other stuff. Where with Jeff T, Corver, Horford, uh, all of them there, and it was kind of like okay, Paul Millsap or whatever, and it's like cool. Nobody really remembers those squads like that. They were just there. I was like they were a faceless unit or whatever. And hey, they always was in the playoff. They were consistent, but they never do a damn thing either. I was like they never had anybody that had superstar ish potential. LaMelo has that, regardless of how you feel about him. But anyway, let's go to I guess the more fun part of the whole thing, and that is pretty much where LaMelo could go. So I'll give you the three teams that is to being talked about as of this moment. It's the Timberwolves, it's the Raptors, and it is dang it. Cause it's not, and it's Milwaukee. I was like, it took me a minute. I was like, what? Why does the third team seem so weird out of all of them? What is something to say? All right, cool. Let's just go ahead and just talk about. Let's go with the Raptors. Now, I was like, the Raptors, I was like, they have been doing the job of basically taking players from teams that people have been so on. I was like, Brandon Ingram, everybody was like so on them. I was like Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett from the Knicks, so on them. Even for a while, even Scotty Barnes basically has fit in the how people sort of feel about him. So I was like, they have basically taken players I feel like that doesn't fit and then basically try to fit. And look, they had a really good squad this year. I was like playing around. I was like Quickly was hurt from the playoffs and stuff. LaMelo will be a big, huge upgrade over Quickly. I think also that for that team, you have Scotty Barnes, who basically is a guy that is an all-star. I was like, could he reach a little bit higher than that as well too? I think so. I don't think like ever like fully MVP type of person, but I was like, but you could see him being like a very crucial guy, where it's just kind of like, oh man, this guy should be talked about more as an MVP if the team reach those heights or whatever. Because I was like he could score, he could assist, I was like he could rebound. He's sort of a jack of all trades a little bit as well too, but I think with that team, I was like, you will have the 3-point shooting that LaMelo Ball gets. I was like, I think the pace that it's moved to. I think also you got Barnes and you have Ingram who can also score and shoot. So it won't all be on LaMelo either. He can actually just facilitate and be there needed when you need to or whatever like that. And also he's a guy that could take I would like take the shot, get his own shot, so you don't have to put all the pressure on Barnes or when they try to stop Ingram. I was saying it work. I feel like it works out. And for the Hornets, I was like, obviously you probably get quickly, and you probably would get Barrett as well too. Kind of just trying to think of the money and that's maybe in that situation. And or maybe just I was like maybe just Barrett. Cause I was like quickly, I don't think signed like a max, but I think RJ Barrett sort of did. But either way, I was like, would that be an upgrade? Sure. Do I really sort of like him there? Or whatever. I was like, I mean, I think it'd be fine. I just don't know what level that takes I would like the Raptors really too. I think they pretty much would probably be a little bit in their same spot. Um, I was like, but Milwaukee, that's an intriguing choice. That is like they didn't want Jaylen Brown. They got Tyler. They got Tyler Hero instead. I was like, and I was like, maybe they were forced to do the Heat trade, but you get what I'm saying. And LaMelo and Tyler Hero, I was like, while I think LaMelo has gotten way better on defense, that's not also saying a lot that he's like some defensive guy either. That just mean that he got better from where he was like here. And it's like, oh man. But your backcourt is going to get torched. Now, who would you necessarily trade for that? That's sort of maybe a little bit more of the problem in that sense because they don't really have anybody to trade with. I was like, I feel like maybe you move Miles Turner somewhere. I was like, but you got Kuzma there, and it's like nobody's really going to be taking that as well. Also, I feel like LaMelo and Kuzma would just be like how we felt about Kuzma and Jordan Poole. I don't. I was like, I don't. I was like, I like LaMelo with Tyler Hero. I just think that would be a fun thing. But I was like, the team I think would probably. I feel like they could do play-in situation on the lower end. And I was like, maybe if you want two young people, but I was like, Tyler Hero's also been hurt. I was like, LaMelo has been hurt. I think there's a lot to invest of like two hurt people and two young people that don't play defense as well. And with that crew, that might just be just like funny times. I was like, but hey, you also gotta. I was like, you do have other pieces around. I was like, I don't think the Hornets will be able to get Khalil Ware in there, or nothing like that. If you sort of do that, maybe an extra throw in. But I just think that I was like, I think it'd be fun. And I can see from Milwaukee point of just being like, yo, we're just going to get some young players and see how we go because they're both still young. I was like, but don't expect anything at the same time. But maybe it's one of them things where it's like Washington just getting like Trae Young and Anthony Davis, like, yo, let's just see what we can do when we just got like potential looming. You got some hope there or whatever like that. But it doesn't help out the Hornets to me. It doesn't help out the Hornets in any way. So I don't really see that trade working or happening unless you get like another team really involved. Which brings us to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, I was like, I feel like now while they're not on the same level, I was like, I do always feel weird about people of the same draft class sort of get together, I guess, in a way. I was like, because you had Anthony Edwards going number one, LaMelo going like number three, and I always feel like your peers that are going against each other to see who could be really good. Because I'm like, hey, at a time there was a LaMelo Anthony Edwards debate or whatever. And I feel like by year three, that really got shut down or whatever kind of year. I was like, LaMelo made an all-star before Ant, but then Ant made an all-star. I like Ant has gone to the playoffs and he has been able to go to heights. LaMelo had been in two playing. I was like, well, three playing, but two chances at getting in the playoffs. They didn't do it. Now, I'm going to say, better. I was like, Anthony Edwards has always had better team. Anthony Edwards has always had better running mates and all these other things. I think it's been a lot better. He had veterans on the squad, whereas LaMelo been the only guy really there because his veterans was Terry Rozier, and we see where that is, and Gordon Hayward at the very end of everything. Oh, I was like, I want to say Batum was also there at the very end as well too. So it wasn't good. Now, that being said, they're not on way LeBron situation where them teaming up feels like from the outside looking in. But if you are able to do this trade now, I was like, I don't know what the Hornets really get. I was like, outside of Dante that won't play and probably something else to make the money work. But if you're able to have LaMelo with Anthony Edwards, Jaden Daniels, Naz Reid, and Rudy Gobert, because they also freed up some money. And AO now looks like I was like, sure, being expensive, but expensive six man. But hey, he still stays on the bench and he can play with LaMelo at the same time. Or like I said, with them two, I think that actually has a chance of them having a chance at the title. Because one, I was like, I said when I did my Timberwolves video that Anthony Edwards needs a point guard that is able to score, but also be an outlet when he gets double teamed and all those things. Guess what? LaMelo is that. LaMelo can shoot. I would like shoot three. He's not afraid to take the shot, like I said. And I think now with this team, I think they fit. If they get I was like they get LaMelo, they fit really well now that they don't have Randall. I was like, Naz Reid on the perimeter, always waiting for LaMelo to start the fast break. Guess what? You're shooting a three there or just getting to the basket. I was like Rudy Gobert being a lob threat and having an actual point guard who's able to get him the ball as well, and probably easier buckets along with all that. Uh, I already said how it spells it for Anthony Edwards. I think it helped Jaden McDaniels, who has gotten better at getting his own shot, but he's still not there yet. But what helps is when you got more spacing on the floor, and also somebody who knows who will be able to give you the ball in your spots or allow you to take advantage of everything. Also, you don't have to worry about defense anymore. Anthony Edwards, defense. Jaden McDaniels, defense. Naz Reid, defense. Rudy Gobert, defense. Ayo, defense. I was like, you have defense all around that. Guess what? LaMelo won't be. I was like so the part I think LaMelo has improved on really is more of his help defense, because I was like, I think he still can. I was like, be a turn of like a cone at times as well too, and it's like sort of like, oh, you're 6'7" or whatever, but also I think like how him and Luka get pointed out and picked on and all those other things, and I'm like, to be honest, I was like, you could point out a lot of the same type of scoring guards, and a lot of them do. I was like, but it goes back to how like Draymond was talking about James Harden. Is that the rest of your crew to help you out at the same time. But I think he has really got better at his help defense and actually talking on defense. Because he didn't use it to be like, go up over here and all the other. He didn't used to be it like that. Now he's a lot better at that. And I think with Minnesota, you just got to just basically just make sure that you are just leading them to the defender. That's all you got to do. You ain't gotta one on one them or nothing like that. I was like, just buy them enough time to come over there and help your ass. That's all you need. But with Minnesota, to me, it unlocks the whole team. Because now, I was like, and while Dante is lethal from 3-point and shooting threes and coming up with those hit shots or whatever, I was like, the upside is still LaMelo. I was like, he has the higher potential of Dante and also scoring, and in a way that, hey, all them dudes gonna have to respect him of getting past him. Yeah, he's not gonna be over here shooting jump like he ain't gonna be like and get to the mid range or nothing like that. But he got enough move where it's like, yeah, but he might get you with he gonna hit you with a step back. He might be able to go up to the lane. He might be able to do all these other things that's more than what everybody else can necessarily do. But like I said, with the rest of the team, I was like, now you got basically a threat at all the positions except for Rudy Gobert, but LaMelo would help that, is what I'm saying. So I think that's the biggest potential that I'm like, if he goes there, I was like, they're automatically to me third. I was like in the top three of the West of, yeah, title. I would like you bet on that. Yes, they still need a couple of pieces, but there is that. Now, a couple other teams that I think could be sniffing around. Cause I was like, I'll tell you the one team that I was like, I hope they don't do, and I was like, I doubt they would. But a Ja for LaMelo trade, Just be like, like it to me, it will feel like a Cat and Randall trade where it will feel like y'all both are getting rid of disgruntled guys, But I was like, but the thing is that that trade for like disgruntled guys isn't the same thing of like who off the court situation would you like to have, and it's like Melo's just goofy instead of like doing stuff that call the people to really talk about like Ja. Even though I was like, Ja stuff is like half serious and also half like okay, but that's not the trade. I think Boston would be intriguing with the trade. Get some. I would like trade him, trade Derek White, and maybe like I like another guy or two. I couldn't see them trading Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, but trading either Peyton Pritchard and some pieces or uh Derek White as well. I was like, I know the rumor going around with Jalen Brown being shopped around or whatever, or for a center or something like that, which is like what center? Um, I don't think Brown would necessarily go to the Hornets. To me, because I like to me, him and Brandon Miller would basically be the same thing. And I was like, I don't know how that necessarily work unless you did something crazy like Melo and Miller for Jalen Brown. But I was like, I do like Lamelo being on that squad. He fits in with their 3-point shooting logic as well. I was like, you got Tatum and Brown at least for the time giving. You could find some other people, but their team sort of builds. I was like up to where like you shoot threes, play a good amount of defense. There's other people there. He'll be with another superstar. I was like, he would be able to help as well, facilitate all them other dudes as well. That's also 3-point shooters. So I was like, Boston, while I would hate necessarily him going to Boston, I think that Boston could use him, and I was like, especially if you do sort of move on for Jalen Brown, for something that I'm like getting Lamelo would help alleviate that combined with whatever you would get necessarily from Brown. Because I was like, I think him playing with Brown and Tatum works really well, but I think also him and Tatum works just fine as well too. And like I said, he fits in with their analytics of what they want to do on that squad as well. And he'll be keeping Green. So what does it even matter? Just some other team that I feel like could. I was like Atlanta. I feel like you got the only person you really got there, Jalen Johnson. I was like, I know. Well, they just signed back CJ McCollum, so that would probably be a little bit more of a hard sell in that sense. But I was just thinking of young teams or whatever, like that wouldn't be nothing crazy because CJ can play the 2 guard, so it's nothing that would be like too hard for them to shift to as well. They're a fast paced team. They're all young. They all can run and all that other stuff. So he will fit in right well with them. I can see the Kings doing it. But what I was like, unless you just get back to bonus, which I sort of feels like I'm like, what I was like, what is the point of that? But I can see the Kings doing it. This is where I'm also going like, who would take Lamelo? Also, I was like, would be the Kings. It would help out Atlanta. Kings, I just think they would just be like, we need somebody for the team, guys. We don't have anybody here. I think that's all it would necessarily be over there. I was like, Portland, I don't think would be a bad spot either. I was like, they got Scoot, they got Drew. So I'm like, who I think while you would want to keep it, like those guys there, I was like, well, Drew over there with that veteran team. I was like, but upgrading at the point guard spot, giving a little bit more splash. I was like, you got Avia there. I was like, you got Klingman there. Whatever they decide to do with Grant or whatever. But I'm saying, or if they somehow keep Drew with them, I think that's also a team they could make some noise in the West. Not I was like they raised their ceiling up a little bit more. In that sense. I was like Phoenix, Phoenix. I was like, but the problem is that you would have to take Jalen Green, and that would be horrible for the Hornets. But I think for Phoenix, that would be great. Booker doesn't have to be the point guard anymore. I was like, he could just go out and just score literally. It would help Dylan Brooks out as well too. It would help out everybody. I was like, they just don't. I was like, you would probably have to give up. Uh, but I know they signed Gillespie, but hey, you can also just bring him up the bench. You probably have to get rid of Grayson Allen in that sense, or you just go heavy on guards like how they've been doing, and then try to figure out the center later. Um, But even Lamelo will be able to help that there. But I think that helps out that team. Someone like the Rockets. The Rockets, I feel like could work, and they got pieces that you could flip. Cause I was like, I'm like, you have like Reed Shepard and stuff, and you would have to figure out maybe you get Tari Eason or whatever. You would have to figure out the combination there, but a point guard there, and I was like, I understand that Ime Udoka might not like Lamelo there, but at the same time, you got KD and stuff that is like, unless you get rid of KD, you need to do something. And also, they're also young, so it works. I was like, you got a man Thompson there, so you got a squad of defensive people that are able to back up Lamelo as well. In the sense, it's all just being like, what do you piece together to sort of, you like to get them or whatever. Like maybe you get Jabari Smith, and then you figure out what to do with Bridges later on or whatever. But I was gonna say something though. I was like the Nuggets, but I was like they would have to get Jamal Murray or whatever. I'm just running through the list because I was like, I would not still be surprised if somebody come out of nowhere to basically snag Lamelo. But anyway, let me know what y'all all think about this. Where's some other places he could go or whatnot? There are probably some teams I'm missing, like Orlando with Suggs and stuff. That'd be a good switch up or whatever. I think that would help that team pace. I was like, let them like flail out or whatnot. Or do Pat Riley have one more move up his sleeve to put Lamelo Ball with Bam and Giannis? I don't think it could happen. But crazy things have been going on in the NBA. So, hey, might as well. Anyway, let me know what y'all think. Till then, peace. We out.